Sir, who in the blue hell are you and why do you know my surname? Hey nerds, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to start my review of the TV show Lovecraft Country. But before we get into that, I just want to thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. Now let's get into this. So if you don't know what Lovecraft Country is, allow me to explain. Lovecraft Country is a show that premiered on HBO in 2020. This show is actually based off of a book that's based off of a book. This show follows our main character, Atticus, or Tick, and his journey across segregated America in the 1950s, and he runs into lots of things like monsters, racists, and just unspeakable things, including magic. There's a lot going on in this show. It has a little bit of everything. It has drama, it has camp, it has horror, it has sci-fi, it has romance, it has literally everything in it that you could think of. And it's an all-black cast. Like, how can we not love? How can we not appreciate? You know what I mean? But yeah, a little breakdown for you there if you haven't seen it, and if you have seen it, what a show, am I right? This is one of my favorite shows. Shout out to my sister Nanny for putting me on all those years ago. Love you. So at first I was gonna do one humongous video covering the whole series, but I think it will be easier to digest if I do one video per episode. So that's what we're gonna do here. This is episode 1 of Lovecraft Country, and it is called Sundown. The show opens up with a battle during World War II, focusing in on our main character Atticus, or as we will call him, Tick. And we quickly realize that we are in a dream when we see Lovecraftian creatures flying overhead and aliens coming down onto Earth. Yes, Lovecraftian as in H.P. Lovecraft. Don't know who it is? Look it up. There's a lot of weird and out of place things happening in this dream, like Tick talking to an alien woman who's speaking some foreign language, and then we see Jackie Robinson come out of nowhere and defeat this Lovecraftian creature, and he says, "I got you, kid." A lot of these things will come into play later on in the episode, but for a first episode of a series that you're just now watching, you're like, we just started, what are we looking at? But then Tick wakes up and we see him on the back of a segregated bus bound for Chicago. Oh, by the way, this entire show is taking place in 1950s Jim Crow segregated Chicago. So the bus breaks down and there's a rescue vehicle coming to take the passengers to their next stop, but they won't take Tick and the only other black person on the bus, a very kind older woman. So Tick and this other woman just walk the rest of the way, seemingly to Chicago. And as they're walking and talking, we learn that Tick loves to read, especially fantasy and sci-fi. Those are his favorite genres. And we also learn that Tick has left the army because his father wrote him a letter telling him to come home, and shortly after sending that letter, he turned up missing. And we also learn from this little, exposition that Tick doesn't have the best relationship with his dad, which is why it's weird to him that he wrote him telling him to come home in the first place. Next scene, and we meet Hippolyta and George, Tick's aunt and uncle. George is a traveling journalist who writes a safe travel guide for black people because, it's the 1950s and you're black, so you can't really be just traveling nilly-willy. So yeah, he writes a safety travel guide for the culture. He's doing good work. Hippolyta and Uncle George also have a daughter named Diana, but everyone calls her Dee. Dee is a very talented artist, okay? That girl can draw. Tick then reunites with his family. It's all love and warmth, and it's like, oh my gosh. And then it's right back to serious business because Tick ends up telling Uncle George about the letter that his father sent him. This letter tells Tick about his mom and where her family came from. It is important to note that Tick's mom has been dead since he was a young boy. Apparently, Tick's father says that there's a birthright that he has to go and claim for himself, and that is coming from his mother's side of the family. And in the letter, Tick thinks that his father mentions a place called Arkham, Massachusetts, and that is the birthplace of Lovecraft. And it's also not too far away from where the Salem witch trials took place. So there's like juju, supernatural juju, like in that area all by itself. Turns out Tick misread the handwriting and it actually says Artem with a D. Uncle George promises that he's going to help Tick find his dad because that's his brother, and then Tick is off to question the next person to see if they've seen his father. Cut to the next scene and we see the neighborhood throwing a block party. This scene looks so fun. I wanted to be there. I'm like, everyone's having fun. They busting up fire hydrants. They're running through the water. People are cooking. There's music. Everyone's dancing. I said, oh, what a time. I'm not even there. And this is where we meet our next set of characters, Letty and Ruby, two estranged sisters. Letty makes her grand return from wherever she's blowing in from while her sister Ruby is on stage performing. Ruby's a singer girl. And Letty and Ruby are played by two very amazing women. Letty is played by Jeremy Smollett and Ruby is played by our girl, our queen, Wanami Masaka. Yes, Miss Annie herself. I love her so much, actually. It's not even funny. And you can immediately feel the tension when they spot each other. They got a little sibling rivalry going on, okay? And they share a nice moment. You know, Letty goes up on stage to sing with Ruby. It's a nice little moment, and then it gets back to because Letty tells Ruby that she needs a place to stay and Ruby ain't with it. And the tension seems to come from the recent death of their mother, but we don't go fully into that yet, but we will later on in the show. So after asking around, Tick finally decides to go after his father, and he is hoping to find him in Artem. Uncle George is like, hold on, wait a minute, I will come with you. I'm not gonna let you go alone, let's go together. So Tick goes home and he makes a phone call to South Korea. We don't know why. And the person that he called immediately knew that it was him. He didn't even have to say nothing. Let's just say there are some very dark implications over this very short phone call. So it's the next day and Letty and Tick get a chance to reunite as well. They knew each other as teens, darling. You know, they knew each other when they was going to school back in the day. And you can see that the story is going to set them up as lovers. The chemistry. The writers, the actors, I'm getting flustered. I'm gonna move on now. Turns out Letty is joining this road trip to Artem because she needs to stop by and see her brother so she can ask him for help. So the show does this thing where they will play sound bites of black people reciting poetry or telling stories, and they'll place it over certain scenes. I love this. I love this element, and I really do believe that it adds to the storytelling as a whole. And we hear it and see it for the first time during the road trip montage. So the group, Letty, Tick, and Uncle George, they make a stop in a small town to grab some lunch, right? They don't stay there long because, you know, racists can't have that. They are attacked and chased by a truck full of racists, okay? And as they are being run out of town, essentially, this mysterious driver appears in this silver car and saves them. In a split second of, you know, stopping in the middle of everything, the driver and Tick seem to know each other, but Tick is urging Letty to like drive, we gotta get out of here now, keep driving. And the driver is like this very rich, spruced up white lady, but Tick seemed to be afraid of her. I wouldn't say afraid, but you know, he didn't want to be near her. So the group arrives at Letty's house and they're telling him where they're planning on going, and he's like, y'all, it is super dangerous out that way because people have been attacked and they turn up missing. Letty then gets into it with her brother. She just cannot win with her siblings. Her siblings don't like her. So after that heated argument, the group is on the road again. And as they're taking another break, a cop pulls up on them. Mind you, they're out in the middle of but nowhere, right? This cop finds them like just taking a rest in the woods and he starts harassing them. I gotta tell y'all, every time I watch this scene, I feel so many things, mainly fear and anger. The actors in this scene do such an amazing job because the energy here is so palpable and it feels like you're right there with them. And knowing things like this have actually happened back then and continue to happen now, it makes it feel even more real. So now the group must escape Devon County. That's where they're currently at, Devon County, before the sun sets. because this is a sundown county, hence the title of the episode, Sundown. Letty's brother was right about the dangerous part, and the sun is finna set. They have less than 5 minutes to make it out of Devon before the sun sets without breaking the speed limit. Because if they speed, the cop is gonna pull them over and pull some police brutality on them. And if they don't make it out of the county in time before the sun sets, then he's gonna do the same thing. So like there, it's a race against time, literally. But the group, thankfully, they make it by a hair. They make it right before the sun sets. Unfortunately, their efforts were in vain because they are then stopped by more cops, and then they get taken. Ooh, the anger, the generations of anger that I felt, I continue to feel when this scene pops up. So the cops are literally holding them hostage, and they're telling the group about some robbery that happened not too far from where they are, and that the group matched the description. You know how they like to pull that shit. So right before the pigs have a chance to do any harm to Tick, Letty, and Uncle George, a creature leaps out of the dark and starts attacking everyone. People are running, screaming, scared. They don't know what the that was. They were like, what was that? This thing, it's big and it's fast. It even bites one of the cops' heads off. He was hungry. I mean, so they find this abandoned cabin, they hide in it, and everyone's freaking out like, what was that? What do we do? Like, how long do we have to stay here? And then Tick and Uncle George, being the smart, intellectual bookworms that they are, they put 2 and 2 together and they get 4, and they're like, oh shit, these are vampires. And they also realize that the creatures are averse to light. So Letty, by the pigs, is forced to go into the woods by herself to retrieve some flares in their car. Oh, the car is a character too. There's the car, the family car that comes from Uncle George and Hippolyta. The car's name is Woody. The car is a character too. I'm gonna mention Woody a lot in these videos, so just remember Woody, okay? So Letty runs into the woods in the dark of night all by her lonesome while Tick and George are stuck in the cabin with the pigs. Y'all, it starts getting thick. Letty is running for her life with the creature literally like breathing down her neck. And one of the cops begins to transform into one of the creatures because he got bit. Side note, I know this is a very serious scene with high stakes, but the way that Courtney B. Vance delivered this line, it will never fail to make me giggle.
You need to shoot him.
So Letty comes to the rescue by driving Woody through the front of the cabin with his headlights on. So Letty and Tick are prepared to face off against the monsters and possibly die when they hear a high-pitched whistle and the creatures are sent scattering. So it cuts to the next morning, and the group is walking the rest of the way to Artem. They're covered in blood and dirt and they're tired. And they finally get to Artem. Big ass mansion, huge. They also recognize one of the cars out front. It's the car that was driven by the mysterious driver, the silver one that saved him. Why is this car out front? Why is she here? So before they even get a chance to knock on the door, a white man appears, opens the door and says,
"We've been expecting you, Mr. Freeman. Welcome home."
Sir, who in the blue hell are you and why do you know my surname? And that is the end of episode 1 of Lovecraft Country. What a way to open up a series, am I right? Now, being that this is a review of the show, I'm going to give my thoughts and my opinions after I explain the plot of the episode. Sound cool to y'all? Okay, cool, fine, let's go. What I appreciate most about this first episode is the pacing. The writers did an amazing job setting up the exposition and all of our main characters that we're going to be, you know, sitting with for the rest of the series. I remember being so excited watching this for the first time. I also appreciate the duality of the family dynamics in the show. One side shows the loving, tight-knit nature of family on Tick's side with his uncle, his aunt, and his cousin. The other side shows the estranged, cold, distant family dynamic with Letty and her siblings. And we also get another piece from that perspective when we learn about Tick's relationship with his father. Without meeting him, we learn so much about Tick's father and how he was abused by him verbally, physically, and emotionally. And this sets up the element of Tick and George being as close as they are. Uncle George understood Tick and encouraged him when his own father didn't. And there's also a little bit of, I know there's a little bit of tension and soreness there because that's Uncle George's brother, whom he loves him, but he does not appreciate the way that his brother treated his nephew. I mean, like, you know, because he's a decent human being, I wouldn't appreciate that either. Another thing that I really like that we got to see in episode 1 was how Letty, Tick, and George represent 3 different types of black people living in that Jim Crow era. Tick represents the strong, resilient type who is not afraid to stand up for himself or anybody else. Even though he knows the simple fact of defending himself could be dangerous, he does it anyway. Doesn't bat an eye. Tick's very noble in that sense. Letty represents the I don't give a fuck Malcolm X type. That's Letty's type. She bites back at the racists to their face and does not care. Uncle George is the non-confrontational type, and he's just worried about his safety and those around him. Having these 3 different personalities intermingle with each other during this time period is not only accurate, but it shows us how the different dynamics work in black people in that group. But yes, great way to open a show. This just pulls you in. It pulls you in and you don't want to come out, and it's great. A lot of episode 1s don't do that, but this was one of them. This one just kind of just yanks you right in. That's what you want. You want it to hook you, and it got me. I've rewatched this show I don't know how many times over the years, but it's just beautiful. So that was my review of episode 1 of Lovecraft Country. I think there's 9 episodes, if I'm not mistaken. How do we want to do this? Do I want to do an episode every week and then just make a playlist? Let me know what you think. I don't know, I might do that. Okay, but I'm done talking now. You're welcome. So that concludes our video for today. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like. And if you made it to the end of this video, what do I want you to comment? Comment a bat, because of vampires and stuff. Yeah, and subscribe if you want to. Oh wait, before I end the video, I'm sorry. If you have not seen this show, please watch it first. Watch the show first, and then if you want, come back here to hear what I have to say, if it even matters to you. But yeah, that's all I'm gonna say. I'll see y'all on the next go around. Okay, bye.